Now, everyone knows what a single dynamic earphone can do. Basically, it can cover the whole range of the frequency spectrum with ease. Then also, everyone knows how balance armature, on the other hand, is used in a multiple configuration to make it sound full and complete. Today, we're looking at a earphone that uses only a single balance armature, and let's find out how does it stack up to the competition. Today, we're going to talk about the QDC Neptune. My first earphone actually was the Armature ER6, which it has been long discontinued, right? It was a single BA earphone. I like it because it sounds very bright, but that is really all to it, you see. The thing with single balance armature earphones is that although they claim to be a full frequency balance armature, most of the time it's really a compromise. Either, manufacturers pander to it having a bit more bass, or some manufacturers will just make it sound a bit brighter so it sounds a bit airier. It doesn't seem to be able to cover the full frequency band very well. It's like, there was this one episode on The Office where I clearly remember it was just Meredith on a casual Friday. She was literally wearing this dress, and the dress was, how do I put it, was a bit too short. So it's either she's going to cover her top, which she did initially, that exposes her bottom, or when they told her, hey, her bum is showing, right, she put down the dress and exposed her boob. So I really do not know. And for most single balance armature, that tends to be the case. Today we're going to see how does the QDC compare. Just so you know, this is a secret place in Singapore where the Starbucks is not very full. You can actually go there and have a cup of coffee and expect to have seats most of the time. So let's talk about sound. So with the QDC Neptune, it knows its limitation. It doesn't try to overextend in certain frequency where it's not supposed to. Like, let me give you an example. So basically the QDC Neptune, as a single balance armature driver, it does not extend high or go very low, but it stays within its very nice sweet spot and actually reproduces music in its own sphere very well. If you talk about bass, will the QDC Neptune compete with a Moto BA driver earphone? Honestly, not really. It does still extend to your sub bass where you actually still get quite a bit of sub bass. I mean, it's not the extent where you get really rumbly bass, but you get adequate bass whereby there's enough rumble, enough harmonics, enough decay. But don't expect class-leading bass from a single balance armature. In fact, actually even Moto balance armature bass, they tend to sound a bit unnatural because it's a bit too fast. The resonance is not as natural. But it does an adequate job. You'll realize that it is not the most detailed or textured. So separation between the bass frequencies is okay, but it is nothing great to shout about. It is adequately separated. I think most dynamic drivers in this price point would actually deliver a more satisfying, a better separated bass than the QDC Net. One more thing to that is that if you have music that is a bit more complex in the bass line, you might find them slightly lost in the mix, just simply because the separation is not as ace as some of the other dynamic models. It's still there, you just have to really listen for it, but I don't think at the end of the day it is very capable to do intricate stuff very clearly. It is there, but it's alright, it's not super. Now, what really carries the QDC Neptune would be the mid-range. The mid-range is the reason why you buy the QDC Neptune. It is very sweet, lush, warm, slightly warm, and it sounds very, very good. Separation on it is also top-notch. You get a lot of resolution. You can actually hear the singer breathe with good articulation. And earphones at this price range, especially a single balance armature, they tend to, as I mentioned earlier, they tend to either skew bassy or bright. But what QDC did was really smart. They really used it to its strength and just purely focus on the mid-range. If you can only do one thing right, and this is exactly what they did. You can hear like the micro details in the guitars when it's being strummed. It has enough resolution to hear the singer breathe while singing. really, if your recording is good and you really like this sort of thing, this earphone will really reward you. Acoustic music is also where it shines. If you listen to a lot of, like, say, old Taylor Swift where she plays the acoustic guitars, that kind of thing, it is really an experience. I can't really describe it beyond that. You can't do things better at this price range with a single balanced armature earphone, and it is really quite amazing. And last of all, let's talk about the high frequencies. High frequencies, to be honest with you, they don't really extend too much at all. You still do get the crispness from the hi-hats and cymbals. There is still enough sizzle. It's just that the decay is just a bit too quick. You don't get anything higher than that or much more than that. It doesn't sound rolled off, which is fantastic, because if not, vocals will sound weird and terrible. So it's alright, it doesn't extend too much and it works within its limitations, and I really think that it does a good job on the whole and really suits the acoustic music vibe if you listen to a lot of it. So now let's talk a bit about soundstage. Now the QDC Neptune is a closed design. So with the closed design, width is only average. You don't get like out of head experience. It's a very in your head type of sound. It expands adequately. I wouldn't say it's the widest sounding, because these days you get pressure relief systems and all. They really push width to the next level, but with the QDC Neptune, width is alright. And next, moving on to height. Height is really dependent on bass most of the time. So if you would like a earphone that sounds very tall, usually you need bass that is fast, punchy, responsive. But because it's a single BA and it's not particularly tuned for bass, it gets okay high. You just don't get the concert hall tallness that you would really think of really tall kind of sound. You don't really get that. It's okay for its price, it's alright. Now, despite its average height and width, soundstage with regards to positioning, it's actually not too bad. But it sounds obviously a bit more intimate because it's not very wide or very tall. Its position is a bit more intimate. You still can tell where the instruments are coming from, just to be in a smaller extent. It doesn't sound as far apart as some other more expensive flagship models sound, but on the whole, it's okay. Now to the last part of soundstage, let's talk about depth. Depth for the QDC Neptune is actually very capable. I would think that they have very good depth separation with regards to the mid-range, because this is where it's truly tuned for. So with regards to the mid-range, such as vocals, you can actually hear that maybe if someone was closer, it will really sound like it's closer, or if somebody's further back, it will sound like it's further back. But if you're trying to say depth in terms of bass, then I think that it is not the most optimal, simply because bass isn't very well defined for the QDC Neptune. It is there, but it's not impactful. In fact, it's just average in terms of separation. I wouldn't say it's extremely good, neither is it terrible. It's okay. High frequencies, because it's not that well extended. So I think with regards to the frequency band whereby cymbals or hi-hats come in, you still can tell the difference between which is more forward or backwards. But on the whole, it performs adequately. It's really in line with this price range. So now in conclusion, the QDC Neptune with its single balanced armature earphone done right. So there's really not much room one can do with a single balanced armature. As I mentioned, either you tune it for bass or you tune it for highs. QDC attempt to do this differently by focusing on its strength, which is the mid-range. And I think they've actually done a very good job based on this limitation and price point. So it actually features extremely enchanting sound signature, especially when you're going to pair it with for vocals. So if you listen to more acoustic music, it is basically perfect. But if you want more R&B, more bass-heavy music, maybe you should consider another earphone. It will be better suited for that. And with that, this is Kenneth from the Anyhow channel. If you like the content you see today, please like and subscribe. Also, if you have any other earphones that you'd like me to try to talk about and to hopefully do more outdoor stuff, you can let me know and I'll try to make it possible.
中意呢條片嘅咧，就記得 CLS comment like 同埋 subscribe 啦，拜拜。
Hey, thanks guys, thanks for following. 唔該啊，大家好啊，我唔識講唔識聽啊，但多謝少少，拜拜。